Smash that subscribe button and ring the bell. Tazy Tech LLC is just getting started. 90% of developers burn out before reaching their peak. Are you unknowingly heading down the same path? Let's talk about something that's been weighed heavily on my mind lately: burnout. Not just any burnout, but the kind that hits developers. The kind that creeps in slowly, so quietly, you don't even realize it's happening until you're already caught in its grip. It's something that I've seen so many of you struggle with, and I get it. Been there, and that's why I'm speaking from the heart today, hoping that in sharing this, we can get to the core of the problem and maybe, just maybe, avoid a future where so many of us fall victim to burnout. Here's the thing about being a developer. It's a job that demands your attention 100% of the time. Not just your physical presence, but your mind, your energy, your soul. It's easy to get lost in the code, in the deadlines, in the endless cycle of trying to be better, faster, more efficient. It's easy to lose sight of yourself. And if you're not careful, that's when burnout can start creeping in. Let me saying this: burnout is not a failure. It's not because you're weak or incapable. Burnout is a product of a system that's designed to push you to the brink and then keep you there. It's a product of a world where being a developer is seen as a race, a competition to see who can work the longest, hustle the hardest, who can sacrifice the most of their own well-being for the sake of the job. But here's the truth nobody tells you: that's not sustainable. So why do 90% of devs burn out so early? Why is it such a common story? Well, let's break it down together. The first reason I want to talk about is this constant push for perfection. Now, this is a big one. As developers, we're constantly told to be perfect. Code must be clean, efficient, bug-free. Your work should be flawless. But here's the problem: perfection is impossible. No matter how many times you rewrite that function, no matter how much you optimize that algorithm, you'll always hit a point where there's more to improve. It's a never-ending cycle. It's like you're standing on a treadmill that keeps going faster and faster, and you can't get off because you're convinced that if you just try a little harder, you'll get closer to the finish line. But the finish line, it doesn't exist. And what happens when perfection is the goal? You end up working longer hours, stressing over every little detail, replaying bugs in your head until you can't sleep. You start losing touch with what matters. The joy of creating something new, of solving a problem, gets replaced with the anxiety of making sure it's absolutely flawless. It's exhausting, and it's unsustainable. But no one ever talks about that. No one tells you it's okay to not be perfect. They don't tell you that mistakes are part of the journey, part of the learning curve. Instead, the industry glorifies overwork, making you feel like if you're not working 60-hour weeks, you're not trying hard enough. Which brings me to the second thing I see contributing to early burnout, and that's the work-life imbalance. It's a familiar story: the long hours, the tight deadlines, the feeling of being on call all the time. For so many devs, there's this pressure to always be available, to be the first to answer questions, to push the latest feature. The boundaries between your personal life and your work life blur, and before you know it, your evenings are spent with your laptop, responding to emails, fixing bugs, or trying to squeeze in that last push before the weekend. I get it. You want to be the one who delivers, the one who steps up. But this constant state of being on is draining. It's mentally exhausting, and the worst part is it becomes a habit. You start sacrificing time with family, with friends, with your own health. You convince yourself that it's temporary, that it's just this one project or this one deadline, and once it's over, you'll go back to normal. But the thing is, there's always another project, always another deadline, and the cycle never stops. And here's the kicker: in the end, it's not even about the work. It's about the toll it takes on your body and mind. Because when you're living in that constant state of pressure, your brain never gets the chance to reset. You're not only draining your energy, you're wearing down your mental resilience. You might think you're fine, that you're handling it, but you're slowly slipping into a place where it's harder and harder to come back from. And if you can't catch yourself before it's too late, that's when burnout hits. It doesn't knock gently. It doesn't give you a warning. It comes in like a tidal wave, sweeping away everything in its path. Now, let's talk about another factor that's always hanging over devs, especially the younger ones: the imposter syndrome. You know what I'm talking about, right? That nagging voice in the back of your head telling you you're not good enough, that someone else is always better, that you're just faking it until you make it. It's exhausting to feel like you're not enough, like every line of code you write is under the scrutiny of an invisible judge. And the thing is, you're not imagining it. The tech industry has this brutal competitive environment where the expectation is that you're constantly improving, constantly learning, constantly pushing yourself to the next level. But when you're in this mindset of, "I'm not good enough," it's nearly impossible to feel confident or satisfied with your work. It's like you're running a race without ever feeling like you've crossed the finish line, no matter how fast or how far you go. And that leads to a vicious cycle. You work harder to prove yourself, but instead of feeling accomplished, you feel even more inadequate. You go into overdrive trying to keep up with everyone around you, and guess what? You burn out. But here's the hardest part: the more you're stuck in this cycle, the more difficult it becomes to break out. The longer you work at the breakneck speed of overachievement, the harder it is to hear your own voice, to remember why you started coding in the first place. The passion fades, and what's left is a hollow shell of a developer, just going through the motions, hoping that one day, somehow, everything will make sense again. Now, I know you're probably wondering, is there a way out of this? Well, I wish I could say there's a quick fix, but there's not. The road to recovery from burnout is long, and sometimes it feels like an uphill battle. But here's what I do know: awareness is the first step, and that's why I'm here, to help you recognize the signs before it's too late, to help you understand why so many devs burn out early, and more importantly, how we can start to change the system, change the culture, and change how we approach our work. But I'm not going to leave you hanging there. In the next part, we're going to dive deeper into what we can actually do about this, what changes we can make to ensure that we don't fall into the trap that so many others have. It's time to flip the script on burnout. Trust me, you're not alone in this. And we're just getting started. Now, before we go any further, I want to pause for a second and acknowledge something important. If you've felt any of what I've described so far, if you've felt that creeping, suffocating pressure, just know that you are not alone. It's real, and it's something that so many of us are dealing with, whether we're ready to admit it or not. The first step in changing this cycle is understanding it. So let's dive into the real conversation here. What can we do about it? How do we break free from this endless cycle of overwork, self-doubt, and burnout? Let's start by talking about boundaries. This is something I can't emphasize enough, and it's the foundation of so much of what I'm going to share. The thing is, developers are often trained to be problem solvers. That's what we do. We see an issue and we fix it. But too often that mindset leaks into our personal lives and our well-being. We start treating our personal time like something that needs to be fixed, something we can squeeze in when we're not busy or needed elsewhere. But here's the thing: your time, your mental health, your energy, these aren't problems to solve. These are things to protect. And boundaries are the way you do that. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's not that simple. But trust me, it can be. Setting boundaries doesn't mean quitting your job or abandoning your passion for coding. It doesn't mean you stop caring about your projects, your deadlines, your career. But it does mean that you start caring about yourself, your needs, your well-being, your peace of mind. So how do you set these boundaries? Let's start small. One of the most effective things you can do is block off time in your calendar that is strictly for you. No work, no distractions, no emails, just time to recharge. And here's the hard part: don't feel guilty about it. This time is yours, and taking it doesn't make you any less of a developer or a contributor. It makes you human. Because burnout isn't just a professional problem, it's a human one, and the only way to protect your humanity is to give yourself space to breathe. But boundaries aren't just about time, they're also about energy. You have to learn to say no. And I know that can feel like the hardest thing in the world, especially when you're used to saying yes to everything. Saying no doesn't make you lazy, it doesn't make you unmotivated, it makes you aware of your limits. It helps you keep your focus on what truly matters, and most importantly, it allows you to conserve the energy you need to keep going in the long run. You see, this is the paradox. We think that by overworking ourselves, we're doing a service to our careers, to our teams, to our projects. But the truth is, by burning ourselves out, we're doing nothing but diminishing the quality of the work we're capable of producing. When you're running on fumes, you're not creating the best code. You're not contributing at your highest level. You're simply trying to survive the grind. And that's the trap that too many developers fall into: the idea that overwork equals success. But in reality, it's the exact opposite. The longer you work without taking care of yourself, the more you lose that spark, the very thing that made you fall in love with coding in the first place. So, let's make a pact right here and now: no more glorifying overwork. No more pretending that working yourself into the ground is a badge of honor. It's not. Let's talk about another big piece of the burnout puzzle, the culture of competition and comparison that's so rampant in tech. You've seen it, I'm sure. The constant measuring of who's learned the most, who's shipped the most features, who's getting the most recognition. It's everywhere. From coding boot camps to Twitter threads to company cultures, the pressure to always be better is suffocating. And when you're constantly looking around at what others are doing, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind. This, my friends, is the fastest path to burnout. Constant comparison steals your joy. It drains your motivation. It makes you believe that unless you're at the very top, you're failing. And let me tell you, this mindset is toxic. No one can keep up with that kind of pressure forever. No one can always be in competition with others without losing a piece of themselves along the way. Instead of comparing yourself to others, let's focus on something more powerful: self-reflection. Ask yourself, why did I start coding in the first place? Was it to compete with someone else? Or was it because you loved creating, solving problems, building something from scratch? Get back to your why. That's your anchor. That's the spark that you need to protect and nurture. Your journey is yours alone, and the only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. The second you start measuring your worth by anyone else's standards is the second you start losing yourself in this race. And trust me, that race has no finish line. But I get it. Tech is a fast-moving industry. There's always something new to learn, always a new framework or tool to master. It feels like if you're not constantly upgrading your skills, you're falling behind. But here's a little secret: it's okay to take a step back. You don't have to be an expert in everything. You don't have to know every programming language or tool that comes out. Instead, focus on the things that matter to you. Dive deeper into areas that interest you, areas that bring you joy. When you focus on mastery over speed, you'll find that the burnout starts to fade, because learning becomes a journey again, not a race now. All of this, setting boundaries, focusing on self-reflection, rejecting the toxic comparison culture, sounds good in theory, right? But how do we actually implement it in the real world, especially when you're up against deadlines, work pressure, and a never-ending to-do list? Well, it starts with one thing: permission. Giving yourself permission to take breaks. Giving yourself permission to say no. Giving yourself permission to not be perfect. And yes, giving yourself permission to slow down. I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do it all, and you don't have to do it all right now. It's okay to let go of the pressure to constantly perform at the highest level. It's okay to admit that you're struggling. In fact, admitting that you're struggling is one of the most powerful things you can do. It's not weakness. It's strength. Because here's what I want you to understand: burnout is not the end of your journey. It's not the moment where everything falls apart forever. It's a signal, a warning sign, a message from your body and mind saying, hey, slow down, take care of yourself, reconnect with what matters. And when you listen to that message, when you take action, you'll come back stronger, more creative, more passionate than ever before. But you have to trust that it's okay to take that time. You have to believe that your health, your happiness, your well-being is just as important as the code you write. And once you believe that, once you internalize it, you'll be amazed at how much more capable and fulfilled you feel. We've been told for too long that burnout is a normal part of being a developer, that it's something we just have to accept. But I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. It's time to rewrite that narrative. The future of development doesn't have to look like constant exhaustion. It doesn't have to be a race to see who can work the longest hours. It can be a career where passion, balance, and creativity thrive. But that change starts with us, with you, with me. So, let's take the first step together. Let's break free from the cycle. Because the only way to be the best developer you can be is to take care of the most important resource you have: yourself. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button so we can keep this conversation going. And if you're struggling or have questions, drop a comment. I'm here for you.